Hey everybody, this is Rex Bear with Leak Project. Hope you're having a fantastic day wherever you are. There has been so much saber rattling going on the past few weeks with North Korea, China, Russia, Syria, the Middle East. I mean, it's getting real hot over there right now. And with the recent 150,000 troops that China sent to the North Korean border, it's very interesting because I've had Heidi Vandenberg on the show with us before, and she does what's called Vedic star charts. And it's a very technical program that will actually take somebody's birth date, the exact time of birth, like to the minute, and able to break down essentially kind of like their star DNA, certain things that they're going to present themselves to people, etc. And this is going to be different though, because I've also talked to Heidi before where we've done readings on events and politics and current events and situations like what's going on in the Middle East. So there could be something very serious going down tomorrow. And instead of doing this after the fact, let's hope that by doing this beforehand, it can either help us as a nation become more prepared and also verify how accurate some of these readings can be under certain circumstances. So Heidi, it's great to talk with you again. I always enjoy speaking with you. How the heck are you?
I'm great. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I appreciate you reaching out to me and saying, hey, I see something possible on the horizon. And you weren't going to bring this up until after the fact, but I said, no, we should talk about this now. So I really appreciate you carving time out of your busy schedule. You got a lot going on. You're an extremely busy person. And what did you uncover? I mean, what's going on?
Okay, so I'm just going to start out by saying recently, I don't really, I like to do people's charts. Politics and world events just aren't my forte, let's say. I haven't been studying astrology long enough to say, I feel comfortable saying world predictions. Yeah, this is going to happen at this time or whatever. So one of my friends, I reached out to her, who is a famous Vedic astrologer. Her name's Joni Patri. She is, she's been on Coast to Coast. She is world renowned. She teaches in Syria. She teaches in Turkey. She teaches it all over. She's got a big following, so you should look her up. We actually did a YouTube for my channel 27, and we'll put the link below because we did a really awesome, we analyzed Syria, Russia, Putin's chart, the leader of Syria, we did North Korea, and the US, and Donald Trump. So we kind of went through all the charts together. And she did most of the talking and most of the explaining. And with that, and thinking about what we were going to talk about tomorrow when we do a show, I was investigating heavily on Korea. I've always been interested in this topic. That Kim guy fascinates me for some strange reason because he's so unpredictable. There's so many weird things about him, and
he's always so happy.
I know, right? And he's all like, I watched so many of YouTube documentaries on him, and he's an interesting character. And, a couple things, well, I'll get into his stuff later, but this is because we just want to get moving here. But he is definitely an interesting person. And when we did the charts, I don't think we really noticed this, but today when I pulled up North Korea's chart, and I figured out that they have their own calendar system now too. So that's something that's quite interesting. So I would look at that almost as a whole nother birthday for another thing for other things. But I kind of really wanted to see like what's going to happen tomorrow. And typically, look, I still don't say 100% astrology is going to give you dead spanking on things, but something, if anybody knows anything about astrology, and this is just when I show you this and how these planets are exact, I did put the compatibility charts together of North Korea and Donald Trump to see how that would align. And I was blown away. And that's when I called you and I said, hey, you got to see this. And I said, I don't want to do it. I don't want to give, because I don't know, who knows? It could be not completely not, but it definitely something could be triggered tomorrow for sure. So I'm going to share my screen with you.
Great. Now, what's your gut telling you while you're pulling this up, Heidi? What is your gut telling you will happen tomorrow? Just right off the top of your head. And this is just pure thought. I'm not putting you on the spot here. So if it's not correct, I'm going to say, well, that's because I just told you to say something. But what do you see? What do you sense and what are you feeling?
I think he's crazy, and I think he's going to do something for sure. He's going to test us. He's a tester. I'm surprised it hasn't happened sooner. Now, how Donald Trump reacts and what he does, he might think about it for a little bit, but I think something's going to happen. You got to understand, he is run on a different type of system. Like, he's not on like how normal people think. So, I mean, I think something's going to happen. I don't think we have anything to worry about here, but it's just going to cause chaos. I mean, let's be honest, when there's something that happens like that, I mean, it affects everybody in a way. People could have family members there. Yes, something could happen if something happens over there, obviously people over there too. We have troops over there. So
let me say something on that note, if I can too, please, because I've thought about that before also, where, obviously here at home, we don't have near the risk. Yet if you're living in South Korea, and I have some very good friends that live in South Korea and Seoul, and it's a beautiful country, amazing people. And unfortunately, because of Kim Jong-un and how much of a loose cannon he is, even though I oftentimes poke fun at him, I still feel that there is that possibility where if he just snaps and based upon what his military allows him to do, it could get pretty nasty pretty quick.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, can you tell me how I move this off of the thing here? Can you see that on my screen? Oh, here we go.
I can see your cursor. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, because there was the end, like where you can change the settings was on it. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine. It's fine.
Okay, so you can see this, right?
Yes.
All right. So this is Korea's chart, and the chart that I'm using is what Joni, I did this all from what Joni and I configured, and we pull our databases from, so we never know the real time, but you got to go and I do this, and I always say you can go from the moon. It doesn't matter either way. The moon is in the first house in this chart, and it's still going to be in Scorpio all day, so this won't change, which is this helps me out a lot. So this is the chart of North Korea. All I can say here is we've got Jupiter in Jesta. Jupiter is conjunct the moon. The Jupiter, and I learned something really interesting from Joni, is how important these are, the degrees of planets and where they're sitting. And if you watch the YouTube we did, I'm telling you, I mean, when you see these correlations, it just shows you how Donald Trump won because of the United States chart. So it's really amazing. So degrees are extremely important. And you know me and my nakshatras that I always talk about. So what's Jesa? Well, I'm going to read something for you. Jesa is, I'm just going to read you one sentence. Jesa nakshatra is where the dark side of Scorpio lies. So protected, they're so protective of themselves and their family, they'd be ready to sting anyone and anybody who is a threat. This means if they have to go shed blood, they will. Okay, so this is Jesa. Now, is everybody in Jesa like that? No. I mean, some are just entrepreneurs, right? But we have to understand that's the energy of Jesa. Not to mention, if nobody knows what Jesa is, it's right where the star of Antares is, the star of war. That's exactly where this nakshatra sits. So the nakshatras, and that's what I'm going off of. So if you take a star chart app, you put it in the sky, you can see right now the moon is, the transiting moon is in Scorpio, and right now it's in Anurata. Anurata is the nicer part of Scorpio, I'd say, the friendlier part. Tomorrow it's going to be all about the heavier side of Scorpio. So that's all about Jesta. And you can see the Jupiter is in there, conjunct the moon. So the moon is your emotions, how you feel, homeland, because we're going to talk politics. Since this is a chart of a country, obviously it's not, a mother, but it's the mind, how the country is going to think, and, how, in my opinion, this right here, this can kind of show that whole communist realm thing, as well as this Saturn and Sun in the 10th house, in Maga and Praval Falguni, in Leo. Keep this in mind. This is the 10th house. 10th house is politics, status, fame, career. So 10th house is a very, very important house for government. And then the 12th house is K2 and Mars. K2 and Mars together can be extremely violent. It for sure can. It's like, well, let me just show you what it is. What's Mars? Mars is strength, action, ambition, courage, willpower, military, soldiers, motivation, competitiveness. It's also real estate. So like you know, sometimes the Mars doesn't take that bad of a turn. So this is all the things: weapons, willpower, commanders, blood, fire, passion, arms, battles, kingship. So we've got, this is North Korea's 12th house. 12th house is foreign things as well. Keep this in mind. K2, isolation, loss, spirituality, outcast, detachment from the world, occult, terrorism, actions or accidents of the head, past life. You can see it's more of a dark part. It's the south node, right? It's definitely what you don't really care about. So in a way, because you've already achieved it, so there's almost this void there with K2, and it can, like terrorists, actually, when 9/11 happened, Mars and K2 were conjunct in the sky when the 9/11 terrorist thing happened. So, I mean, I can even show you that. So it does. That's why the
please. So let me jump in real quick for the layman out there like myself. You're basically so concerned about this because the star chart that you're looking at is just like the charts with 9/11, essentially.
Well, this conjunction in a chart anytime there is that can be very, it's just that in nature. So when this is, you got to think, this isn't any individual's chart. This is that country, right? So, and I'm just showing you how intense that energy is, because when you do 9/11, I just want you to see. What year was that?
2001.
I was a senior. What time did that happen exactly? Do you remember?
Yeah, 1:11 and 11 seconds. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not sure, but let's find out.
It
That's
happened, you know what? No, it happened at like 9 o'clock, right?
I'm going to find out the exact, let's find out when the first strike took. What time was the first strike of 9/11? That's great. Here's one thing that I'm fascinated with, Heidi, is you've got my mind going a million miles an hour right now, because if you can actually do these charts on the foundation and the formation of countries, and when treaties were signed, when laws were passed, when events took place, you can go back to whether it's a false flag or a mass shooting or something in World War II, or if you put together a time in the future, then I'm thinking of people that might have a lot of money, power, positions, and prestige that use this type of technology and information, and they're like, oh, okay, at 3/13, Friday the 13th on 2023, we can create cause an effect over here on this location because of all the stars aligned and everything. I mean, they could just get so deep, and combined with the occult knowledge and history and everything else, it's fascinating. But okay, here we go.
Well, so how about this? Joni says on my show that we did this interview, she said, Heidi, because I brought that up. I said, I know the government uses astrology, and I know because I can't say why I know, but now I do know because of my job and what I found out from a client and what I've, I can't talk about it. But long story short, hands down, I know the government uses astrology, and that's why it's secretive. And, I follow the Vedic system and the nakshatras because I believe if the government did give us the real zodiac's thing to follow, they just wouldn't do that. If they're using it for power and control, why would they give it to everybody else? That's like common sense, right? They're not going to. And they're going to make it bad. They're going to make it bad to sound destructive and like it's demonic, of course, because so it will scare the hell out of people. So they don't do it, and you don't use it. And that's the truth. I'm sorry.
You think for yourself? You're from the devil.
Right. And
off with his head.
So Joni said this. She said, Heidi, did you ever, she goes, the guy, what was his name? The JP Morgan guy. he made a comment because his astrologer, saw an astrologer, and she said that the astrologer told him not to get on the Titanic. So he didn't get on the Titanic. And he had a lot of respect for astrology. All politicians have astrologers. The only person that didn't have an astrologer was JFK. And you see what happened to him.
You know, it's interesting also because sometimes you hear the saying about how millionaires may not use astrology as much as billionaires do.
I forgot about that part. That's the other quote he said. He said, millionaires don't use astrology, but billionaires do. Literally, that was the quote of what he said, the same guy that I was just talking about. So, JP Morgan.
Let me add something because I'm actually looking at the timelines of the events. And according to Wikipedia, you've got 7:59 a.m. American Airlines Flight 11. Let's get into the numerology here for a minute. This is the September 11th. 7:59 American Airlines Flight 11. It was a Boeing 767 carrying 81 passengers. Look up the number 81 in gematria, and then you can connect that to that. That's like one of the
the ninth number is the ending sign. I mean, it's the last number. It's
So 7:59, 8:14. Then you've got 8:20, 8:42. So maybe we should put it. Should we hit it? What time should we use? Should we hit when the actual plane hit the tower? The first plane hit the tower?
Because I actually had a client that was close by to there. This is how I know this, because I did somebody's chart that survived, and which was awesome to see how that kind of panned out. But I didn't realize. I never looked at the transits then and how they were aligned. Mars and K2 were together. So Mars, it's not like, Mars and K2 aren't together. It's not all the time. So, it's definitely triggered by how long, certain planets move certain years. So when they end up coming to be together, just like this summer, the sun and Mars are going to be coming together. It's going to be intense too, because the sun is fire, like the ego and, the energy and heat, it's politics. Mars is war. So this is going to definitely be an interesting year, but you can't be so negative about it because, you can't live your life in fear all the time, A, and B, you can't let all this get you, but, you do have to be cautious about certain things. This is where astrology can be beneficial, is because you can look out for certain things.
Absolutely. And, I'm just looking at these numbers. Once again, the numerology in here is crazy. At 8:42, 42 is an incredible number. And also, even watch the film, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, they ask this supercomputer system, okay, what's the meaning of life? Come back in a million years. They go back a million years later, and the meaning of life is 42. It's the number 42. And okay, so let me throw out some of these numbers for you. At 8:42, United Airlines Flight 93, which 93 breaks down to do what thou wilt. It is it goes way back, way before Aleister Crowley. The number 93, that's very significant in those that studied the occult and numerology. And just because you don't believe in it, folks, doesn't mean they don't. And they have a lot of money and they got a lot of stuff. So, okay. 93, flight 93, with 37 passengers, departs 42 minutes late at 8:42. And then at 8:46, flight 175 is hijacked. 8:46, 40 seconds, flight 11 crashes into the north face of the North Tower, the One World Trade Center, between floors 93 and 99. So you're getting into that numerology again. And then at 8:50 to 8:54, flight 77 is hijacked. Floors 77 through 85 are hit from flight 175. Flight 93, again, is hijacked in Ohio. Then it turns to the southeast. it's flight 93 crashed by its hijackers and passengers due to the flight cockpit 80 miles southeast of Pittsburgh. You very rarely hear about flight 93. That's kind of one of those flights that's forgotten about. And then at 1 hour and 42 minutes after the impact of Flight 11, the Marriott Hotel, located at the base of the two towers, is also destroyed.
So let's talk about the time. So tell me the time. Give me the time the one hit the
Just give me like 20 minutes. Go back a second, Rex. All right.
Go back to the first
I was on a
tower.
tangent there.
I know. I started putting all the times in. And I'm like, whoa, you're going on. Okay.
Okay. So when the actual first flight hit was at 8:46 a.m.
Okay. So, like I said, here we go. This was the chart of that time at that exact place, right? I mean, here we go. And this is even crazier. Watch this. You know me and my little nakshatras, right? The sun was in Purva Falguni. And guess what? Just like the sun here in North Korea's chart is in Purva Falguni. Same thing. Ready for this? This is even crazier. So I'm not saying. K2 and Mars are conjunct, like I said. And it's in the nakshatra of Mula. Mula is actually, they say the galactic plane, the hole, where the dark hole is. That's Mula. So it's part of Sagittarius. That's the dark side. So people that have planets in this are like investigators. They're digging deep. They're searching for things. And it also can be pretty dramatic. Like somebody that has a lot of planets in this can have a lot of dark side and have a lot of problems too. And it can be very problematic. So when K2 and Mars are in Mula, that's like, that's just bad. Okay. So this is nuts. So Saturn's in Rohini. Saturn is in Rohini is in Kim Jong-un's charts. I don't know, Rahu or something. So that conjunction is there. Here we go. What about this? Moon, Rahu, Jupiter, all conjunct. And here, remember what I said? What did we talk about? Ardra. I always talk about Ardra. Ardra is one of the most destructive nakshatras. Rahu is in Ardra as well as Jupiter. So Moon, Rahu, Jupiter together. I mean, that's in the 10th house. I mean, it's just nuts. Venus is in Aslacia. I always talk about Aslacia. Like these are actually some of the most destructive nakshatras. And just for instance, you can see how that played out on that day, right? This was the energy where those people, did this. And I like to look at astrology like you have to take, like if somebody's having a bad day, it's like a lot of people are usually having a bad day. So you have to know that if you know that all this crazy energy is happening, then, you can make decisions and no, maybe I shouldn't say that to that person, right? Just talking a little psychology session here. But when you know that there's a heavy energy like this, my whole point is you can treat people a little bit differently or you can avoid things a little bit differently. But let's go back to the North Korea stuff. So just like I said, K2 and Mars are together. How crazy is this? Mercury is in Hasta. Guess what? On that 9/11 thing, Mercury is in Hasta. Do you see how many things are in the similar things in this chart to 9/11? So that just shows you that
that's incredible.
This can show you that this is definitely a dark country that has that works. Obviously, we know that's common sense, but this is just proving it. Okay, so North Korea. Okay, so what I did was I decided to do a compatibility reading with this and Donald Trump, because we don't usually get the president's birth time. So the fact that we have his time is pretty remarkable because we can really correlate a lot of things from that, right?
Right.
So I did the compatibility, and as you see here, North Korea's blue, Donald Trump's green. All right. I have never seen this. This is what just blew my mind when I saw this. Do you see Jupiter right here is exact on Moon and K2? Okay. So Trump's, not to mention Trump's Mars. Where's Mars? So this is the Jupiter and Moon in that Scorpio, Moon and K2. And we've got Trump's Mars here. No, sorry, this is their Mars. Where's Trump's Mars? You can't even see it. Okay. Then in the 10th house in Leo, we've got Trump's Mars on their Saturn and Sun in Leo. Then there's Venus on Venus. I mean, this just shows you like how important these planets be because they're so close on each other's to the exact degree. That's like insane. So you have to, what that means is these degrees are going to be powerful positions of the planets that can activate certain things. So keep in mind this 26 degrees of Jupiter, right? This is important. Then we've got the moon and this Mars and this Saturn, it's within 1 degree right here. This is powerful stuff. So we know Saturn, Mars, Jupiter, Moon, and K2 are all going to be heavy planets. And this is just in the compatibility. This has nothing to do with their transits. So when I pulled up their transits, I was like, oh my God, for tomorrow. Okay. So now we're going to go to Donald Trump's chart, right? This is his chart. This is Vedic sidereal zodiac for everybody that says, oh, that's not right. So what's going on with Donald Trump? He's got Moon and K2 in Jesta, okay? Go to his transits tomorrow. Tomorrow, and remember I said Jupiter, Moon, and K2 are very important, right? I actually need to just look it up. What's that compatibility thing here?
Na 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 na.
This is so slow here. All right, so you see this Jupiter, Moon, K2 right here. Jupiter is exact, and I said 26 degrees. Well, anytime a planet's within 3 degrees, it's insane, okay? It's going to still be powerful. So we've got Jupiter on his natal Jupiter, 26 degrees, okay? Tomorrow, right now, the moon's in Scorpio, and right now it's in the nakshatra of Anuradha. Tomorrow, which is that guy's birthday, the grandfather's birthday, right?
Okay.
Getting a little closer. Hold on. So tomorrow we're getting real close to this, right? Personally, something could happen. This is, you know, we're at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5, 6, 7, 8. So something is going to trigger him. And these are those same planets with, you see this? Government, Sun, Rahu, it even like activates this. You can see when these lines pop up, it's an aspect. It's an important aspect. So we have this getting activated. Not only that, Mars just moved in his 10th house. 10th house is of his natal chart. 10th house is, you know, career, politics, status. So that could be, you know, some aggression comes into that side, which not like that hasn't been going on this entire time. But not to mention he's got Rahu in his first, which can bring, you know, problems to him. So not to him physically, but like it can. But I think this, what I'm trying to get at here is Rahu's also foreign things, foreign lands, right? So that's in his first house where, you know, Rahu's not pleasant. It's going to activate all kinds of craziness. And then K2 is in his 7th house of others, foreign things is the 7th house. Now watch this. So this is, you can see what's transiting in his chart. Look at North Korea. Okay, this is where it's pretty important. Moon, this is where we're at right now. Tomorrow, this is when I think he's going to have a switch, because the moon is going to be, it's going to hit this Jupiter, right? And it's exact, same thing on those 26 degrees, same as Donald Trump's. I mean, that's just like, that's kind of pretty unreal. So maybe tomorrow he starts testing the waters. And let's just be honest, this could happen. Like, I think the moon could hit Jupiter, the moon could hit Saturn. So I'd say in the next 2 weeks, but for sure, there's definitely a possibility that the whole problems get activated tomorrow. I mean, I don't know how bad, but then if you go over here and look at their 10th house, Rahu, which is bringing, like, you know, that what I said about it's bringing to Donald Trump, that's going into their 10th house. 10th house is career, politics. It's hitting all this. Not to mention, this is what's activating. They said it's a sun holiday because it's the guy's birthday, the grandfather's birthday, and they say it's like the sun, they call it, which is like an important holiday. And, this is government. It's hitting the same house as the sun is in. Then here's Mars is in the 7th house in Taurus. So problems right there. Sun and Mercury, other governments are coming to hitting their Rahu. Ketu's in the 4th house, homeland problems to their homeland. It's for sure all over there.
Let me jump in because tomorrow is the Day of the Sun, and that's the North Korean national holiday, April 15th. And you're seeing something big go down that same day. I find that incredible. And then I wonder, let's say Kim does something real testy. Let's say he shoots some missiles that are, nuke tipped or something like that, or just does something. Maybe he does something to South Korea. Maybe he decides to get real ballsy, and maybe that's why the Chinese troops are already there, because once things start going down, well, then the Chinese could come into South Korea also. That's another thing to think about. People have said that the Chinese are there to prevent North Korea from coming into South Korea, which that could be true. Yet I see the possibility of, let's say this is the spark of World War III, and I certainly hope it's not. And I've seen the implications and the possibilities of World War III now for years. Ever since when I was 5 years old, Heidi, one of the biggest things that freaked me out was literally World War III for some reason. I don't know why, but they built bunkers in the 60s, and it used to be duck and cover under your desk. Like, that's going to do any good if there's a nuclear bomb that goes off outside. But we've been closer to nuclear war than we are now, I feel, but maybe not. Because there's a lot of stuff going on right now with China, with the politics here at home. Yet maybe they will cause some type of, when I say they, I'm referring to these globalists that do control the majority of the governments and the militaries and the corporations, etc. It's a consolidated pyramid. Well, if they start to pull the rug from underneath people, start to push, in effect, certain war games applications that they've already created and such, I don't know. My gut isn't picking up on anything like that, but I've kind of been desensitized from all this because I used to be so worried about it. So do you think it could be something like maybe the spark of World War III?
No, I don't. I don't think it's going to be that at all. I really don't. There's just no way. But I think it's going to, with everything happening right now, obviously there's a lot of tension. But look, we live in the United States, which we're so lucky to live here. And I look at all these charts and I look, and you think sometimes, God, my life's so shitty. But then, turn the news on and see what's going on in the other countries. Quite honestly, we are so lucky, and we are always protected, which is kind of why it bothers me so bad when people are so disrespectful to Trump, because he's doing things to help us and protect us. And he is not, so you have to respect him. And the reason, regardless of what he's done in the past and everything, he does really care about helping America. I believe that he's definitely a person that wants to protect us. There's no shady agendas there at all. So, that's just coming from his chart. Period. The fact that he's got Moon and Ketu and Jesta, I said Jesta is all about protecting your family, and that's in his 4th house. So 4th house is your home, your homeland as well. So think about it. He's so protective of America, and people are like, oh, K2 and Moon, he's crazy. No, he's protective as hell, and of his own family as well. So I think we don't have anything to really worry about with us. Now, maybe with some of the other countries, I would not necessarily say, but I think he's going to be able to negotiate his way through that. I just, I think our problem is our own people in this country, unfortunately. And you know who I mean by that? Some of the people probably he has on his team. I think it could be some of the, just from some of the conversations I've had recently, just some of the people that try to like put him out there, and who knows? I
Even
think
the reverse. Oh, sorry, Heidi.
No, God, say what you're going to say.
Even the reverse speech analysis on many of the talks that Trump has had, President Trump, have came back very positive in his favor. I remember I had an interview a few days ago that I did on Leak Project with David Oates, and he founded an organization called Reverse Speech, where they will take and analyze politician's speech or just anybody. If you wanted to get your speech analyzed, and what's really cool is it's also could be kind of frightening because some of the stuff that comes back, he's told me stories about clients that he's had that When you did the reverse speech, it said stuff similar to, I am Satan, I suck your soul, and I control you. And just weird stuff like that, you know? And he's like, well, it's not necessarily Satan. It's just most likely symbolic and metaphoric for something else. But you never know. So I think when you hear Hillary talk in reverse speech, I've heard her say stuff that sounds like she's saying, I'm going to scam you and other things. And then, you know, Trump's like, what he says forward, when you play it backwards, it's correlating the same effect.
Yeah. And I believe that. That's why, I mean, I think sometimes when people have those expansive, crazy vocabularies, you know, it's great. He's probably not that hard to do. I bet it's like pretty simple. He talks just straight up. Like, he might not sound like the most, you know, I don't know, like a poet or something, which I'll say, neither do I. That's why I sometimes hate making videos, because, you know, sometimes I feel like there's so many things you get me on a rant. I mean, I could go off, but people will be like, oh my God, that woman is nuts. But, you know, I actually have to sometimes think about what I'm going to say, because when I talk, it can just go all over the place sometimes. So I think he tries to just keep it simple to the point, and people think he's being mean or he's not smart enough, but that's not it. He's just is what he is. And there's no, I'll say this. I watched this documentary on him because I did Ivanka's Ivanka's chart, and I did it with Jenny on my channel, and it was so funny. But so many things, you know, about him, that the way he perceives himself and the way that he is just, the documentaries that he had, there's nothing negative about him being like, I see people say he's like a rapist and he's not, nothing of the sort. He's not a woman. He might be a womanizer or whatever. He likes women, but he's not like a rapist like some people. He's just a sexually active guy. And I saw this documentary, and they were like, they were saying all the snaky things he did. And even like the snakiest things he did, he was like brilliant about it. You know, it was like business stuff. And the reason why he been in politics, and I can vouch to this, because when you are in construction, you have to go to all those political meetings and stuff, because you have to get all the politicians on your side when you want to get a building developed. So, I mean, when I was selling new construction, I used to go to commissioner meetings, even though I had no clue what I was doing there. I used to go to them and sit in there. And I met the sheriff of the counties. And, you know, you go to schmooze and mingle so people know, for instance, because if there's signs up, you want signs on the weekend. This is totally irrelevant, but you know, some political people, that's why he got into the political scene. It had nothing to do with like he wanted to rule this and, you know, rule a country. And I think really his message has been so the same his entire life. And yeah, he's done some shady business deals, but I'll say the way he got banks and schmooze banks, the way he convinced people, because he has like this innovation mindset and he can just move people like that. That's why he won. And I think he's going to be able to do that with other countries. And I think he's got that, if you can get banks and business tycoons to negotiate like that, I mean, he can do it with other countries, that's for sure. And you can see what he's doing, how he brings these leaders to his resort. And, you know, he's going to do great if everybody just stops being so negative to him and stops trying to sabotage him. That's what I think our real problem is.
Politics, it's always sabotage, whether you're Democrat or a Republican, a liberal, or whatever. I mean, there's not many liberals in politics, but it's pretty much two-sided coin there, a part of one same coin essentially. But you know, we'll see what happens, and I certainly wish the new administration the very best. I mean, I don't know why anybody would want to see their captain fail. That's kind of silly. And I do hope that as far as the environment, he kind of sees that balance needs to stay there. You know, I mean, I drive through states like a lot of New Mexico and even here in Texas, you see fracking fields that go on and on and on, and it smells like sulfur out there. And I don't know. I really hope that we can get our act together environmentally enough as well, and these suppressed technologies start to come available. And if he really is going to make the change. And if he really does have the best interest in heart of the people, I hope he can find a way to get out these suppressed technologies and, stuff that can cure cancer or other diseases or ailments, and finds ways to offset some of this nuclear nastiness that's out there, and all these corporate conglomerates that put tons of poisons in the foods and the beverages, and the medical industrial mafia complex that makes money off of people being sick. That's just the stupidest. If you really think about it, Heidi, I'm going off on a rant here for a second, but a corporation, an industry of corporations, and these corporations have more money and resources than most countries. And then you've got an industry of these corporations that profit off of sick people. And then you make it mandatory to get certain vaccines that these companies produce, and they don't make money unless people are sick. And then they create drugs that keep people sick. And it's the cyclical system. And it would be nice to see just things just change to a point to where you could go to the store and you didn't have to look at 15 different products to find one that didn't have a poison in it. Or you didn't have to worry about, the next fake swine flu pandemic and just these psychopaths controlling the world, thinking that it's a good thing to cause a war over here, some destruction over there, and then make money cleaning it up later and stuff like that. I don't know, but I guess I'm just kind of being a.
Well, what I did see recently on the news? I saw something about our population control. Like, our population is actually going down, and it's, everybody talks like, oh, because they're saying the predictions and what they predicted, they say, oh, because something's going to happen. But I actually watched this whole thing on, it's because actually people aren't having kids as early, and some people just don't want kids anymore because they're in the workforce, right? So people are actually having kids less and less now in America. So if they, I think personally, they know that they have to keep jobs, to keep buildings and keep everything going, our whole system going. I mean, I think Trump actually is going to also, I think I just saw recently too that somebody actually finally had the first win of a lawsuit for the vaccination. Did you see something like that? There was a vaccination win for autism.
There was another win. There's actually hundreds of millions of dollars that have been given out to the victims of damage from the vaccines and injury. I should say injury.
Well, this year is all about. There's a lot of planets in Pisces and Virgo and Pisces all about healing. So I think there is going to be some breakthroughs with medicine, and not medicine like what we're saying here, talking about the dangerous medicines. I mean, I think it's going to be more natural medicines, because, and I'll tell you, a lot of people that I've done readings for have there's so many passionate people about it, and I think it's definitely going to be the new wave of the future. So that's per the transits and per the charts. So I don't see anything and there's nothing in, our chart or the government chart that looks like that would be, against it. I think that's going to be one of the positive things that happen this year. There's going to be some breakthroughs and some awesome things that happen for health and for the vets and all that stuff. I believe that's going to be some of the positive things. So.
Hey, right on. Absolutely. And anything else you'd like to share with us before we close out tonight? And also, I'm excited to speaking with you again tomorrow. I know we're going to have you and Jenny on the show. We're going to talk about some other stuff that's going on in the Middle East. And your YouTube channel is still Channel 27, correct? Channel 27?
Yeah, it's Channel 27, and then it says Heidi Vandenberg after it. But I'm doing like live readings on it sometimes, not too much, but I did live readings and I was on there for like 3 hours, so I can't be doing it too much. I couldn't even make it public because it was so long, because I just sat there and talked. But I'm going to do live readings, contests. I actually have a contest going on right now. Whoever sends me the most viewers or subscribers wins, but that's over on Sunday. So you have to have a minimum of 5 people. So yeah, there's definitely some awesome things that I'm going to be doing, interviewing some fabulous astrologers. Like I said, Joni Patry, she's well known. If you Google her, you'll see. And we did a video, which, I'm very, very excited about. So, yep. If you want me to talk about Kim Jong-un's chart, but we don't have to. I mean, we don't even know if it's the right birthday, to be honest with you, because Dennis Rodman or he says it's January 8th, right? But I don't believe that, because that guy made his own calendar system. I don't believe that they're going to give you his right birthday. So I think his birthday is July 5th.
Well, can you show us the two just real quick before we, if you got a few more minutes? I would like to see the difference in the two, and then I guess we could come up with our own conclusion.
Well, this looks like his chart for sure, if you ask me. And the documentary just said if he went to school in Switzerland, I guess, and they actually showed the birth dates of the 3 kids, and that's what I went off of, and that just pans out pretty much exact. Watch, Sun and Venus, and Sun's in Ardra, right? Even if you go by the moon, if you don't know his time. Okay, let's do that just to be safe. That would be Chandra Lagna is your chart by the moon. So what that does, it takes your moon sign and sticks it in the first house. So if you don't know somebody's ascendant and what time they're born, you can take their moon, make it their ascendant, make it their first house, and you read their chart from there. So his moon is in the first house this way. So the second house, Mars and Saturn are together. And I'll tell you, Mars and Saturn don't like to be together. It's like Mars and K2, but even worse, because Mars and K2 in a way are friends. Mars and Saturn it's like oil and water or whatever, it's Saturn's restrictions, Mars is willpower. So it's going to be constant conflicts of, willpower and strength and restrictions and problems. And, just, it's not good.
You just gave my mind some more candy. I appreciate that. When you brought up Saturn is it represents restrictions.
Yeah.
Mars represents willpower. So Saturn, with the rings of Saturn, there has been speculation, and we're going to get woo-woo here for a minute, that it might be some type of resonating device that not only affects that planet, but also the rest of the solar system. And also I've heard the possibility and ancient teachings of Saturn at one point being a star. And there's also the cult of Saturn. And the representation of the cult of Saturn is a black cube, like the Borg cube, the assimilation of everything in an artificial construct. And I've also heard the theories of there being spiritual, angelic, very powerful deities that are imprisoned in Saturn, and the rings are what keeps them in there. So, I mean, just all the metaphorical stuff and the symbolic stuff, and if you can understand it subconsciously, it'll permeate through the consciousness.
Do you want to know what I saw about Saturn recently?
Yeah, please.
Let me Google it. Google Saturn, the Greek god Kronos, what he looked, or whatever. Google Kronos and Saturn. I just saw this. There's an astrologer called the Leo King, and he made this freaks me out, because Saturn's also government. Okay, let me go to my notes. I'll show you what Saturn. While you're looking that up, I'm going to tell everybody what Saturn is.
Wow, it looks like Kronos. He basically treats his child like a.
What is he doing? He's eating a baby.
Oh my good. Well, not in these pictures, but he's holding him by like the leg essentially. And I've seen what you're talking of, where he eats his own child. Yeah, to keep
the child
alive. Yeah, it's like self-generation.
Okay, so when he said this yesterday, when the Leo King brought this up and said about what's conjunctions, right, what's going on right now, and I saw that picture, I was like, oh my God, that's crazy, because one of the planets that's government is Saturn. Watch this. Transformation, fear, servant, doubt, self-doubts, hard work, duties, longevities, introversion, servants. But government is also servants, right? Because you're a public servant, okay? Obstacles, setbacks, delays, old age, hard work, effort, chronic disease, teeth, mining, engineering, masonry, farming, long-term illness, mental, real estate, novel writing, real estate books, labor, work restrictions, death, elders, knees, joints, focus. This is kind of everything. But servant of death. When you look at all this and you know, our government, and then, I always talk about this, Uttara Bada Padra. I always see like these planets and these government leaders, and you should see the U.S. chart. I just recently looked at the United States chart for the first time. There's like 1 million planets in Ardra. Ardra is the teardrop. It's actually kind of crazy. once I heard about that whole pita gate thing and eating, at first I thought that was just insane. I was like, there's no way, you know, that's your first reaction. But after I heard this too, it was just like, really? And I know this government uses Saturn it's a Capricorn sign. Government is Capricorns. And when you just put all this together and you just know all these symbols, you're like, okay, well, not saying, I mean, maybe they took the books a little too literally and they are eating babies. Who the hell knows? You know, I mean, it's nuts, but I don't know. But I don't know, if you look at Donald Trump's planets, how funny is this? His Saturn is the worst in his chart, has the worst points of Shadbala. Shadbala is strength. Like you see Kim Jong-un, his Saturn's off the roof. You look at Donald Trump's, look, it's horrible. 185 of points. So that means he does not have a strong Saturn. So how funny is that? So maybe he doesn't eat babies.
Thank goodness. Yeah, that's
thank God, you know, right?
Have you seen the movie Cabin in the Woods? It came out a few years ago.
I think I did. I don't know. I don't watch movies or TV.
The only reason I ask is because it kind of relates to what we're talking about. When I first heard of the movie, I thought it was just some stupid horror flick, and I don't like horror movies at all. And maybe like some of the old ones when I was a kid. I grew up watching Hellraiser and stuff like that for nostalgic purposes. But you know,
right.
But anyway, so in Cabin in the Woods, it's not a horror film. It's based upon basically there is this cabin in the woods, and these teenagers go out there, and it's like at first it starts off like a horror film where, you know, okay, well, somebody's going to die. There's, you know the whole story before it actually happens. It seems like it all unfolds itself. Well, actually, that cabin is just the tip of the iceberg. Underneath the cabin is this huge underground facility where you've got all these like black ops type or I should say shadow government type personnel that are working and putting together all of these scenarios and looking at all this surveillance. And they actually ushered in, like they always will do the same thing in this same cabin. They'll bring people into this cabin and they'll have everything picked out before they do. And then they'll end up sacrificing all of the people that they brought to the cabin. And they have to sacrifice everybody, because if they don't sacrifice everybody, well, then it goes back to the cyclical sacrificial rites that have been going on for thousands of years. And in order to keep the world afloat and not just completely self-destruct, well, they have to perform these rituals of sacrifice every single, I don't know how often they have to do it. But to make a long story short, they kill 4 out of the 5 people, or I think 3 out of 5, 2 of the people actually survive. So the whole thing crumbles and the whole system collapses. And at the very end, you see this like enormous looking demon just come out. It's like, "Rah!" And then the whole world blows up, and that's the end of the story. So it always made it seem like, they made it look as if, oh, you've got to have this sacrifice take place every single year, even today, even though you did 10,000 years ago, because if you don't, there's going to be a big giant monster that's going to blow up the planet. And that's the story. That's the underlying theme of the story. Now back to you, Bob. And would you like some popcorn with that?
Another thing, I've learned so much about his chart. I'll say one other thing about him, that his Jupiter is in the nakshatra of Chitra. And Jupiter is, look, if your Jupiter is bad, it's not good. I mean, if your Jupiter is in a bad nakshatra, you can see Jupiter is knowledge, happiness, wisdom, evolution, morality, children, spiritual teachers. So this is all Jupiter: expansion, humanitarian, finance, son or daughter, savings, horse, reputation, all this stuff, right? If you have a negatively placed Jupiter, it means corrupt morals. So just like in those other charts that I was showing you of Korea, all of their Jupiters are like somewhat conflicted in a way. Like there's definitely some problems on those Jupiters. His Jupiter is alone. It's in his second house. It's in Chitra. Well, let me just tell you, Chitra is all about law and order and doing the right thing. Judges, lawyers, attorneys, architects, people with visions. And they really do believe that they have the right vision. So it's definitely a good nakshatra. So, if you have Jupiter in Ardra, different ballgame. It's like somebody that could become, just like you saw a terrorist, 9/11, Jupiter was in Ardra, right? So you have to look at how these planets are sitting in these nakshatras, because it really does make such a difference. And you can see why the United States chart, why all the government's against him. He doesn't really have planets in the same nakshatra. It's like opposing his nakshatras. It's amazing that he won, and you can see where he won based off of the degrees. That may one day I'll bring up the United States chart, because that's pretty amazing, and comparing it to Donald Trump's chart. We talk about it in our video. Last thing I think I could bring, I don't know if you wanted me to bring up that the grandfather, his chart.
Great. Yeah, absolutely.
Kim Sung. Okay.
Kim Sung.
So this is interesting. His Mars is in Ardra, just talking about, and what's Mars? Aggression, war, all that stuff, all that can be a harsh. So when you've got Mars in there in the 12th house, and the 12th house is foreign things, even if you read his chart by the moon, you go Rahu, moon, Venus. That's somebody that is not very mentally stable. Rahu can make you have addictive personalities, addiction problems, addicted to sex, addicted to pleasures, addicted to just Venus things, music, arts, women, foreign things. Well, here's another thing that was interesting. Sun, Mercury, and Saturn together he has, which is also a heavy conjunction. But Sun and Mercury are in a Swani. A Swani is all about equestrian. There's people that like horses. And if you look at the North Korea, their statues, it's a known fact that he loved horses. Like the grandfather was obsessed. I was Googling it and double checked. And he's got 2 planets in a Swani. And a Swani, it's all about equestrian and all that stuff. So, and then his Saturn's in Critica. That's kind of like the dark side. It's surgeons and stuff come out of Critica. Can make somebody very good at financing, but very harsh judgment. So his Jupiter is in Jesta, which, look, once again, that's what's going on right now, this big conjunction, right? This Jupiter and Jesta. And that's all about, protecting your, remember I said protecting, you'll die for it. And that's what he believes, his beliefs of, and this is what his birthday is being celebrated. And this is definitely what's being in exact degrees on Donald Trump's chart, literally tomorrow. So, I mean, this happens a lot, but they're worried about it this weekend. They have signals. Everybody's on call. I saw. So yeah, there's definitely a. And then how about this? His K2 is on Chitra. Well, guess what? Donald Trump's Jupiter is in Chitra. I mean, that's just a whole. So you could just see these lineups. It's like, just shows. I mean, that's why I believe life is lined out in a certain way. I mean, everybody's here for a reason.
I would certainly agree with that. And that's one of the neat things too. I feel that if we are doing our purpose while we're here, then you'll know it. I mean, you should usually know when you're on the right track. And if you're not following that path you were meant to do, oftentimes it seems like the universe will throw curveballs at you. Stuff will start to happen. You'll get, thrown out of whack, and then you'll have to find yourself and put yourself back. And it's fascinating. Absolutely. This is some really cool stuff. I mean, this is really kind of one of those underlying themes that you can use as a benefit to a multitude of things, like when to start a business, when to, get invested into something, just kind of give you ideas that might help you do better. And, I'm very agnostic towards most things, meaning I just don't know. But certainly when you show me the stats, when you show me the data, when all of that is put together, there's things that you can prove and there's things that you can't prove or won't be able to prove. And I think that with this specific type of Vedic star chart / astrology, I don't even like to use the term astrology just because it has such a bad rap, the name for it. You think of astrology, you think of what you're going to look at in the newspaper when you open it up and it says, oh, well, are you a Virgo? Well, you want to make sure to use these magic numbers, 23 and 73 and whatever, and make sure.
You know what's great? Now that you say, I have to say this. So there was an article in the news apparently that said, the New York Times brought this up. they said that the worst, the new bad thing, the new trend was like spiritual stuff, astrology, all this whatever you want to call woo-woo stuff you want to call it. I call this facts. Trust me. Look, I don't believe shit unless I have facts. So I'm just saying, I have studied this and have asked every person I've ever met in my life what time they're born and still continue. And it's never wrong. I've done thousands of readings. If you don't believe me, get a reading because it'll blow your mind. I mean, it's never wrong unless you have the wrong time. So there is proof in it. And I'll say that the government now, it's almost like because astrology and all this stuff is becoming so popular, because everybody is questioning things now. Everybody's like, religion, what's going on? I mean, all the truth is coming out. People are figuring it out because thanks to people like you that are exposing all this stuff. And you can see everybody's awakening. This whole energy is shifting. But I think they're almost scared because they're like, if everybody knows these secrets, I mean, it's nuts. There's going to be no more questions, because even you could see right here, my software, and why I can say if it's a good time to do things. This software right here allows me to go in and say, okay, is this a good day to do this? Say you want to learn a craft, take a lie detector test, get an education, ear pierce, surgeries, all this stuff is on here. Home building, jewelry, animals, if you want to farm, if you want to get pregnant, is all on here.
I got to say with that too, I'm going to play devil's advocate here for a minute. You got to be careful not to get into that too much, because if you start putting too much energy into just even little monotonous things, you might kind of lose your mind a little bit. I can understand on some of the bigger things. And hey, I mean, some people might do that for everything, like when they go to the grocery store, and that's cool.
Okay, yeah, some people do. But I'll say this. I don't ever look at this unless if it's like I'm going to an interview, right? Like something that's significant. If I'm going to go on an interview, or I'm going to look, these videos we launch and stuff, yeah, do I think we do them on the best days? Absolutely not. Do I care? No, because I can't live my life on astrology. But if
every day is the best day
to take an interview or something,
big project.
If you're going to do an interview or you're going to start a business and publish a book, okay, yes, you definitely want to make sure it's on a good day for sure. So say you want to mint coins. I'm just going to go with this one, right? And you want to
do that a lot. Heidi. Yeah. I mean, that's a normal thing. I'm like, hey, you guys want to go mint some coins today? I don't know.
If this guy wanted to go mint coins, you select the place and the time, right? So say here, you can see any day. So if you want to see if any days are good from now until the 30th, it will tell you the points, and it tells you it'll time it out with points, and you can see what's going to be the best days. And now there's going to be such specific times. It's like 20 minutes. Sometimes it will say, no, there aren't any good times. So, it's not, a good time. So, but yes, there's way more parts to this. I'm just showing you just a little feature that it has. Sometimes it takes some time to do, but yeah, this is definitely, this is very, and I don't do this. I don't get that detailed into readings unless, somebody's in a real big mess, but I like to give people just, I think you have to be careful on what you tell people, because you don't want to give people false hopes or wrong hopes, or say they should be worried about something and they shouldn't. So I'm not a big predictor. I'm more about let's talk about what your energy is and kind of what's going on in your life, and more of that's why I say it's a life coach, because I do not consider myself an astrologer. I consider myself a coach that helps, that you can talk to, tell all your things, and and I can help you maybe make some better decisions or tell you what, my advice. And okay, so you can see it's 6 points right here. Okay, so these are actually not too bad. So he could go mint coins on the 21st between 1:13 and 1:37. Great time to start, right? Anything over 10 to 15 points is better. So yeah, this just shows you what it does.
It's a silly example, yet at the same time, it also gives you an idea on how many different things, and you could relate to that specific Software. That's pretty cool because I guess there's going to be particular algorithms and presets and ones and zeros essentially that equal a certain essence to get that formula based upon all the data and houses and everything else. And I think that's just pretty cool. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to check us out again tomorrow because we're going to have Heidi Vandenberg with us, and we're also going to have Jenny Moonstone, and we're going to talk about just the madness in the Middle East, what's going on over there. And also make sure to check out the YouTube channel, Channel 27. Channel 27.
Or you could go to my website to book readings too.
And that is One of a Kind
by Heidi.com.
.com. Is it .com or .org?
Oh, .org. Shit.
Hello. .org.
I know. Because I used to have
Heidi.org.
Oh god, I can't keep up. Okay.
All right. Thanks,
so
Heidi.
wait real quick. I want to make one thing. One thing straight. I'm not saying like crazy things are. I'm just saying there's tension here. I could see where something could happen tomorrow afternoon to be exact, into the nights. I think this energy can last until the 23rd, 30th. Everybody will notice right now, and I can talk about this tomorrow, but there's a lot of crazy things going on. There's 4 planets retrograde. Oh no, Venus just must have went unretrograde. Venus Venus goes not retrograde anymore. I think it's tomorrow. So we have 4 planets retrograde. So everybody's probably having some intense energy. People from the past are coming back. Contracts are getting your communications kind of getting out of whack. Just you feel like you're forgetting things. Cloudy, Jupiter, Saturn, everything is coming to a big transit, and it has been the next 2 weeks. So you just have to be calm, relax. It's just a short period right now where all these planets are. It's going to really loosen up May 4th, but everybody's going through a lot of stuff because my phone's been blowing up in emails so I know overall, like everybody's feeling it. So I felt like I had to say that on here because you're not alone. Everybody, including myself. I mean, everybody's having a lot of energy because you got to think if you're feeling it, everybody else is feeling it too. So it's global.
You ain't getting out of this night.
That's it. That's all I have to say. I'm done.
Well, thanks a lot, Heidi. Much appreciated. It's always good to talk to you. Looking forward to speaking with you again tomorrow. Folks, also check out leakproject.com. I'm going to throw out a quick shameless plug here. If you want to become a premium member at Leak Project, right there at the very top of the website, leakproject.com, click that button, and you can get access to over 700 full-featured podcasts, exclusive content only available at leakproject.com, $50 for the entire year, or it's $10 a month, and your contributions greatly help Leak Project. Also got to say, I've been taking these right here, these essential bees, and they're awesome. I feel amazing. I don't know how I have so much energy. It's crazy. Like, as a matter of fact, it's coffee. I mean, a lot of it's coffee. But I'll tell you, coffee with essential bees, the way to go. Getthetea.com and use the code Leak Project.
Hey, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Those let's talk about those vitamins really quick. Do they have iodine? I saw recently something on iodine. Did you ever hear that that's good for you?
Under certain amount of it, and depending on the type of iodine, I have heard that before. Yes. Now this stuff is full of tons of vitamin B. You've got vitamin C.
Do you take all that stuff?
B6, B7, B8, B9. Absolutely. I take whole food vitamins. I take these essential Bs. I take allicin C, and I also take this stuff called colostrum, colostrum. I keep saying that name wrong. Colostrum, which is like this really cool powder. I mix it into my smoothies, and that stuff. It's a little bit expensive, but it's worth it. I mean, it's like superfood, literally. I can't even describe how much better I feel since I've been taking these products. They're great. But
and what's it called? You have that you have it on the site, on the website? Yeah,
it's getthetea.com. Yeah, getthetea.com. So cool. I was able to throw out another shameless plug there. How awesome is that? Thanks, everybody. It's been great. Thanks, Heidi. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Paired and also verify how accurate some of these readings can be under certain circumstances. So Heidi, it's great to talk with you again. I always enjoy speaking with you. How the heck are you?
I'm great. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I appreciate you reaching out to me and saying, hey, I see something possible on the horizon. And you weren't going to bring this up until after the fact, but I said, no, we should talk about this now. So I really appreciate you carving time out of your busy schedule. You got a lot going on. You're an extremely busy person. And what did you uncover? I mean, what's going on?
Okay, so I'm just going to start out by saying recently, I don't really, I like to do people's charts. Politics and world events just aren't my forte, let's say. I haven't been studying astrology long enough to say, I feel comfortable saying world predictions. Yeah, this is going to happen at this time or whatever. So one of my friends, I reached out to her, who is a famous Vedic astrologer. Her name's Joni Patri. She is, she's been on Coast to Coast. She is world renowned. She teaches in Syria. She teaches in Turkey. She teaches it all over. She's got a big following, so you should look her up. Now, how Donald Trump reacts and what he does, he might think about it for a little bit, but I think something's going to happen. You got to understand, he is run on a different type of system. Like, he's not on like how normal people think. So, I mean, I think something's going to happen. I don't think we have anything to worry about here, but it's just going to cause chaos. I mean, let's be honest, when there's something that happens like that, I mean, it affects everybody in a way. People could have family members there. Yes, something could happen if something happens over there, obviously people over there too. We have troops over there. So
let me say something on that note, if I can too, please, because I've thought about that before also, where, obviously here at home, we don't have near the risk. Yet if you're living in South Korea, and I have some very good friends that live in South Korea and Seoul, and it's a beautiful country, amazing people. And unfortunately, because of Kim Jong-un and how much of a loose cannon he is, even though I oftentimes poke fun at him, I still feel that there is that possibility where if he just snaps, and based upon what his military allows him to do, it could get pretty nasty pretty quick.
Yeah, for sure. I actually did a YouTube for my channel 27, and we'll put the link below because we did a really awesome, we analyzed Syria, Russia, Putin's chart, the leader of Syria, we did North Korea, and the US, and Donald Trump. So we kind of went through all the charts together, and she did most of the talking and most of the explaining. And with that, and thinking about what we were going to talk about tomorrow when we do a show, I was investigating heavily on Korea. I've always been interested in this topic. That Kim guy fascinates me for some strange reason because he's so unpredictable. There's so many weird things about him, and
he's always so happy.
I know, right? And he's all like, I watched so many of YouTube documentaries on him, and he's an interesting character. And a couple things. Well, I'll get into his stuff later, but this is because we just want to get moving here. But he is definitely an interesting person. And when we did the charts, I don't think we really noticed this, but today when I pulled up North Korea's chart, and I figured out that they have their own calendar system now too. So that's something that's quite interesting. So I would look at that almost as a whole nother birthday for another thing for other things. But I kind of really wanted to see like what's going to happen tomorrow. And typically, look, I still don't say 100% astrology is going to give you dead spanking on things, but if anybody knows anything about astrology, and this is just when I show you this and how these planets are exact, I did put the compatibility charts together of North Korea and Donald Trump to see how that would align. And I was blown away. And that's when I called you and I said, hey, you got to see this. And I said, I don't want to do it. I don't want to give, because I don't know, who knows? It could be not completely not, but it definitely something could be triggered tomorrow for sure. So I'm going to share my screen with you.
Great. Now, what's your gut telling you while you're pulling this up, Heidi? What is your gut telling you will happen tomorrow? Just right off the top of your head. And this is just pure thought. I'm not putting you on the spot here. So if it's not correct, I'm going to say, well, that's because I just told you to say something. But what do you sensing? What are you feeling?
I think he's crazy, and I think he's going to do something for sure. He's going to test us. He's a tester. I'm surprised it hasn't happened sooner.
Hey everybody, this is Rex Bear with Leak Project. Hope you're having a fantastic day wherever you are. there has been so much saber rattling going on the past few weeks with North Korea, China, Russia, Syria, the Middle East. I mean, it's getting real hot over there right now. And with the recent 150,000 troops that China sent to the North Korean border, it's very interesting because I've had Heidi Vandenberg on the show with us before, and she does what's called Vedic star charts. And it's a very technical program that will actually take somebody's birth date, the exact time of birth, like to the minute, and able to break down essentially kind of like their star DNA, certain things that they're going to present themselves to people, etc. And this is going to be different though, because I've also talked to Heidi before where we've done readings on events and politics and current events and situations like what's going on in the Middle East. So there could be something very serious going down tomorrow. And instead of doing this after the fact, let's hope that by doing this beforehand, it can either help us as a nation become more prepared